Let's take a look at the headlines. Federal government commits $21 million to build pilots' capacity. Take off. Plus, key races to determine control of the Senate in Arizona and Nevada yet to be called in U.S. midterm election. We will bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. From the King Salman Humanitarian and Relief Center for the offer of treatment to a poor Nigerian family who birthed a set of co-joined twins. According to the presidential spokesman Garba Shehu, Hazana and Hazina, both girls joined in the and did not come with earnesses for the excretion of waste. He noted that they were moved to the National Hospital Abuja, where they stayed 7 to 8 months without undergoing a surgery because the funding for it could not be raised. Although the National Hospital had done such surgery in the past, says of the surgery. Away from that, the federal government has said that it had committed the sum of $21 million to acquire a Boeing 737 simulator to further build the capacity of the pilots. The government had acquired an automated fire simulator. Sirika, who noted that the Nigerian aviation sector was the second most recovered industry from COVID-19, said because of the achievements recorded in the sector, Nigeria had been re-elected as a Part 2 member of the International an aviation leasing company, which would be private sector driven, will be established to address the challenges of limited access to capital and high cost of funds. G20 as against the earlier announced date of Tuesday, November 15th. Clerk to the House Yahaya Danzaria announced this in a one-paragraph message to members of the House, saying the mandate date was arrived at to enable break to allow ministries, departments and agencies and the aides of government defend their 2023 appropriation before various committees of the Green Chamber. In the meantime, Senator members by 50% to give it to the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU so as to meet their pressing demands. Ndume stated this while reacting to the alleged half-powered standing committee of respected educationists and patriotic Nigerians to meet with the leadership of ASU to address the burning issues. According to Ndume, civil servants who worked from home during the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic salaries because they went on legitimate strike. Away from that, Aviation Minister Hadi Sirika has said a total of $350 million is needed, out $17.5 million, representing about 5% equity stake, while 46% of the total fund would be from Nigerian investors and the remaining 49% would be provided by Ethiopian Airline Consortium. The minister, who said the aviation route called on foreign airlines whose funds are trapped in Nigeria to show more respect and understanding rather than issuing threats. In another development, the Committee for the Court of Justice over what it termed artificial flood disaster occasioned by government's negligence. The threat is contained in a statement signed by Comrade Israel Joe after his 34th annual General Conference, noting that the move is to compel the federal government to compensate. Say Comrade Israel Joe had at the annual General Conference of the CDHR held at its National Secretariat in Lagos, moved a motion to drag the federal government before the International Court of Justice (ICJ) to compensate flood victims. Away from that, the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory has set aside the contempt proceedings and all the orders of conviction for contempt against the chairman of the ECOWAS after hearing an application brought by the AFCC chairman after the court found that at the time of the order, the AFCC's chairman was not in contempt of court. Recall that Justice Chizuba G20 directing the commission to return to an applicant is Range Rover supercharged and the sum of 40 million naira. She also ordered that Bawa should be commuted to prison at Kuje Correctional Center, Abuja, contempt, and directed the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, to ensure that the other of these court was executed forthwith. Macky, residents of Uyo, as it is only defacing the state, but also exposing the people to devastating health hazards. They advised the government to adopt the Waste to Health initiative and other proper waste management practices.
Waste generation in Nigeria is estimated at 0.65 to 0.95 kilograms per capita daily, which gives an average of 42 million tons annually. Therefore, proper waste management has become a problem for a nation like Nigeria that has not fully maximized its capacity on plastic recycling and reportedly generated daily. In light of this, the Akwa Ibom State Governor flagged off the Greater Akwa Ibom Cleanup Campaign and charged the State Environmental Protection and Waste Management Agency to ensure the state achieves and sustains its status as the cleanest state in the country. Waste sites can be seen obstructing free flow of traffic and causing devastating health hazards on the residents who live around these sites.
In the state of us, Akwa Ibom State, it is quite worrisome, especially when it comes to do with a very fans of the closer environment should take notice that anywhere that it is cited as a dump site in Akwa Ibom, they should always take their refuse and dump it right into the container instead of littering it around.
An environmental consultant, generating employment and revenue, charged the government on the need for proper waste disposal and management.
Well, if you say waste itself generally is what? Job creation. We could use it for job creation, and you could still create waste. What I would say that government should provide more waste disposals closer to the people. People should be attached to there to work there, at least 5 persons each to work in a site.
Awareness is therefore pertinent for citizens and the government to take responsibility. Reporting for Spectrum Television.
We move now to Africa, where African Union Chairman and Senegal President Macky Sall is set to attend the upcoming G20 summit in Bali, representing both the EU and Senegal. The visit will follow Sall's attendance at the United Nations COP27 climate meeting in Egypt, where he was a leading advocate for rich countries to contribute more cash to help Africa adapt to climate change. Reports say the summit in Bali, Indonesia, will take place on November 15 through 16, overlapping the second week toward its transition to low-carbon energy. And elsewhere, thousands of public workers in South Africa have down tools and nationwide strike over wages after talks with the government hit a deadlock. Association PSA, which has more than 235,000 members. The wage stalemate between the government and its employees escalated after Labour Minister Paulus Nziazi last week declared he would unilaterally implement a 3% immigration workers and some police officers picketed outside the National Treasury Office in Pretoria, waving black placards reading "Public servants are bleeding and delivered a list of demands. The increased wage below South Africa's inflation, which peaked at 7 port firm, launched a week-long strike which left mineral and fresh fruit exports stranded.
In the past 2 years, we've been affected by COVID. Food is increasing on daily basis, clothes are increasing on daily basis, but we find that same workers that still is.
When we came here earlier on, we wanted to speak to the city manager, but the city manager did not pitch. And then after that, we said we are going to request for a mayor to come and address us. And then the mayor did not pitch as well. So there is no hope.
That is communities like Ivory Park, Dispute, Orange Farm, you will continue to swim in the pool of poverty. But them and their friends, they will be able to get big tenders. In the past 2 years, we've been...
On the foreign scene, world leaders have over the coming week, where divisions between major powers and conflict reportedly threaten to overshadow talks. The first stop is the Cambodian capital, where leaders from across the Indo-Pacific will meet alongside a summit of Association of Southeast Asian Nations and of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum in Bangkok. According to reports, the stocked diplomatic lineup will be a test of international appetite for coordination on issues like climate change, global inflation, and rising food prices on the back of Russia's invasion of Ukraine and economic recovery. G20. Whether Russian leader Vladimir Putin will make any appearance during the stretch of diplomatic dates remains uncertain, but U.S. President Joe Biden and Chinese leaders Xi Jinping are expected to attend 2 of the summits in Southeast Asia, a region that has long been ground zero for influence jockeying with a more responsible global actor than the other. Talks between the two could help to avert an escalation of tensions between the powers. Still on the foreign scene, control of the House. Key races to determine control of the Senate in Arizona and Nevada are yet to be called, with about 540,000 votes in Arizona and 95,000 votes in Nevada left to be counted. Meanwhile, Republicans appear to be slowly. California and Colorado remain uncalled. Meanwhile, counties are still getting ballots to be counted. This is as some states' law allows mail-in ballots to be received through Saturday. Including injured Mané for World Cup. Please stay with us. Much thanks for staying with us. We now move to the business news, where the Central Bank of Nigeria's beneficiaries have kicked against it. Residents of 68 Agricultural Commodities Association told journalists in Abuja that the Apex Bank stopped supporting farmers under the ABP scheme since 2021. They called on President Muhammadu Buhari to direct the CBN to resume the disbursement of financial support to commodity associations. President Sadiq Dawar assured the CBN that though the recent floods dealt severely with farmers and affected the repayment of loans, the monies would be repaid, noting that the halt in financial support. Still in business, the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria, FAAN, have reopened the domestic runway 18L and 36R of Murtala Muhammad Airport in Lagos State for flight services. Recall that the runway was closed to enable the installation hold and center edge light and others on the runway, which until the closure could only operate sunrise services. FAAN has said the installation of the new aids, the runway would operate both sunrise and sunset flights, and how the federal government has charged Zamfara, Jigawa, Kebbi, Katsina, Gombe, Taraba, Niger, and Bayelsa states to work on improving their childhood immunization targets. The federal government said this at the end of the Public Health Care, the National Primary Healthcare PHC Development Agency. Dr. Faisal Schwab said primary health delivery is principally about reaching the underserved populations in the communities through immunization. Recall that Gavi earmarked $50 million taking healthcare and routine immunization to hard-to-reach areas. Schwab, who was represented by the Director of PHC Development, Dr. Ngozi Nwosu, also charged beneficiary states on accountability, efficient and effective utilization. Meanwhile, the federal government has disbursed 101 billion naira to 7,600 primary healthcare facilities from the ZPF in the Ministry of Health. Dr. Chris Isiokponwu made this known in Abuja at a two-day retreat organized by the Health Sector Reform Coalition. He said that some funding gets to the state to promote the activities of the emergency operation centers, noting that the states also need to provide their counterpart to do that. He urged CSOS to continue to advocate for increased funding for health across all levels of government. Reports say Consolidated Revenue Fund (CRF) of the federal government and other sources, including donor contributions. It is expected to provide free minimum basic health care to the poorest and most vulnerable Nigerians. In sports, Sadio Mane, who finished second in this year's Ballon d'Or, has been named to Senegal's World Cup squad by coach Aliou Cisse and squad, to the relief of a nation that had been fretting over whether Mane would be able to lead Senegal's challenge in Qatar. Cisse said he hoped the condition of the Bayern Munich attacker would improve within a few weeks, adding that he is optimistic the injury would not require an operation. 6-1 win over Werder Bremen on Tuesday and was diagnosed with an injury to his right fibula. Still in sports, eight-time winners Manchester City will host holders Liverpool in the first 8 seasons, knocked Chelsea out with a comfortable victory on Wednesday, while Liverpool beat Derby on penalties. Gillingham, the lowest-ranked side left in the competition, faced Wolves at Molineux in what will be Jolene Lopetegui's first match in Chap 4-2 in the third round. The matches will be played in the week commencing 19 December, just days after the World Cup final in Qatar, before the Premier League returns on Boxing Day. Has joined the growing list of BB Niger alumnus political appointees with a new appointment in Edo State. The reality TV star shared the good news via her official Instagram page, noting that as youth ambassador, she plans to use education in partnership with the state government. Speaking on behalf of the governor, Godwin Obaseki, the commissioner for youth and gender issues, Andrew Nwanta, said the government is experienced youth ambassador as she recently backed a deal with a luxury skincare brand. And that's all we have. STVNg. You've been watching Spectrum News at 2. I am Francis Edit. Much thanks for watching and to have a great day.